There are many brave Marines in the military. The Marine Corps has so much tradition, honor, and discipline. It's these values and the men and women who live up to the standard consistent with this is what makes the Marine Corps so effective as it is today. Beyond the call of duty and acts of valor, whether it be Chesty Puller or Carlos Hathcock, one in particular I always think of is Daniel Daly. Two-time Medal of Honor recipient, Navy Cross recipient, Distinguished Service Cross, and many other decorations. He would lead, he would fight, and his men would fight even harder. He has the most famous saying of all, "Come on, you sons of bitches, you want to live forever?" And little did he know by saying that, his name would live on forever in the United States Marine Corps. Daniel Joseph Daly was born November 11th of 1873 in Glen Clove, New York, on Long Island. So most of his youth, working as a laborer in New York, he occasionally fought as a semi-pro boxer. Daly enlisted in the United States Marine Corps January 10th, 1899 at the age of 25. His first post was in the Asiatic Fleet. He was aboard the cruiser USS Newark, 1900. Newark had arrived in China as part of the China Relief Expedition during the Boxer Rebellion. On July 15th of 1900, during a 55-day siege of the international legations at Peking, Private Daly and his commanding officer, Captain Newt Hall, set out to reconnoiter a position on the Tartar Wall under siege by the Boxers, which was the working party. Never arrived. Daly volunteered to hold the position while Captain Hall returned for a working party. Single-handedly fought off a furious all-night Boxer attack in action, which earned him his first Medal of Honor, not only being in the Marine Corps for 2 years and getting the Medal of Honor. After leaving China on the Newark, sailed for the Philippines in 1901. Daly saw new duty in the Philippine-American War. Later that year, Daly had a few run-ins with the military discipline. He was court-martialed once for drunkenness on post and spent 3 weeks in the brig at the Boston Navy Yard, and again 3 weeks later for drunkenness and verbal abuse of the sergeant of the guard. After serving in the Philippines, Daly was assigned to various ships in the Caribbean area, seeing duty in Panama, Puerto Rico, and Cuba. Also trained the new recruits, worked as a guard at Portsmouth Naval Prison, and gained a reputation as an excellent boxer. He was promoted to corporal in 1906 and sergeant in 1909. On March 14, 1911, Daly was garrisoned at the United States Naval Station in San Juan, Puerto Rico, when he spotted a gasoline fire that was spreading from the fort castle of the merchant schooner Springfield. Daly was party of 9 other Marines and sailors successfully extinguished the fire, though he spent several weeks hospitalized with severe burns. Daly, for this effort, received commendations from both the Secretary of the Navy and the Commandant of the United States Marine Corps for his actions. At the outbreak of the battle at Veracruz on April 21st of 1914, Sergeant Daly landed in Veracruz, Mexico, with a combined force of 1,200 U.S. Marines and sailors. The American objective was to seize the customs house to prevent a shipment of German weapons, 200 machine guns, 15 million rounds of ammunition, potentially to be used against the United States, from reaching the shore. The ensuing battle saw intense street fighting, and the day after landing, Daly's platoon was pinned down in an arroyo, facing heavy sniper fire from a rooftop. Daly covertly crawled out of the ditch, entered the building from the rear, and killed his entire 7-man garrison, 5 by rifle fire, 2 by bayonet, and by the end of the day, the Americans had captured the city. Daly earned his second Medal of Honor in Haiti, with the U.S. Marines supporting the Haitian government in a fight against the Caucos insurgents. The U.S. Marines supporting the Haitian government in a fight against the Caucos insurgents on the night of October 24th through the 25th, 1915. During the Battle of Fort Dipty, Gunnery Sergeant Daly was on a mounted patrol with a detachment of 3 squads, 40 Marines total from the 15th Company, 2nd Marine Regiment, under the command of Smedley Butler. The Marines were ambushed by a force of some 400 Caucos while crossing a river near the fort, and the horse carrying their machine gun was killed, sinking in the riverbed. The battle raging through the night, Daly left the Marines' defensive positions, swam into the river under constant fire until he located the horse, freed the machine gun from its restraints, and carried 200 pounds of weaponry and ammunition more than a mile back to the Marines' position. Butler wrote that Daly performed this feat on his own initiative, and that the major was surprised to see the machine gun, which he had been resigned to fighting without, set up back at Marine camp. That Daly moved coolly and deliberately, and that he himself wouldn't have had the courage to undertake such an exploit. The Marines rearmed, and with Daly in command of one of the squads, routed the Caucos, capturing and destroying Fort Dipty. 3 weeks after the recovering of the machine gun on November 17th of 1950, the Americans fought the Caucos once again in a decisive battle of Fort Riviere. The combined force of U.S. Marines and sailors delivered a crushing blow to the final insurgent stronghold, ending the First Caco War. In a report to the commander of the 1st Marine Regiment, Captain William P. Upshur wrote that from October 15th to November 30th, Daly showed exceptional coolness and leadership of men under fire, resulting in Daly receiving a letter of commendation from the Secretary of the Navy, Joseph Daniels, in Major Butler's report on the Fort Riviere campaign. He wrote that Daly was the most conspicuous fighter among the enlisted personnel. Daly is a real red-blooded Marine, and it was an object lesson to have served with him. Daniels, in announcing the Medal of Honor citations for the campaign, wrote that Daly displayed conspicuous gallantry both off the field of battle and at the Battle of Fort Riviere. I know some people are curious as to how the term devil dogs came to be. If you're ever to look up Marine Corps history, one of the significant battles you'll always see is the Battle of Belleau Wood. Many parts of Marine culture and history took place in this battle during World War I, during the German Spring Offensive. This is due to the Germans calling the Marines Teufelshund, or devil dogs. The fight was ensuing between the United States Marines and the German forces in this dense forest. As the Germans witnessed the Marines wearing gas masks, they looked like they were foaming at the mouth and had bloodshot eyes, charging up a steep hill on all fours. The German soldiers were witnessing the Marines being relentless in attacking, and their ability to capture seemingly impregnable terrain. They were so intimidated by the Marines' fighting spirit. Since then, it's just become a part of Marine Corps culture, calling each other Devil Dog. It also became the mascot, Chesty the Bulldog. World War I, the trench warfare, France. The Allied forces were being pushed back by the Germans. The Russians, out of the Allies, were heading back to Russia due to the Bolshevik Revolution taking place. After the Battle of Issy, the Germans reached the north bank of the Marne River at the Chateau Thierry, 95 kilometers from Paris. On the 31st of May, the 7th Machine Gun Battalion, U.S. 3rd Division, supported the Singhalese Tirailleurs in holding the German advance at the Chateau Thierry in hard-to-house-to-house fighting, and the German advance turned right towards Vaux and Belleau Wood. On June 1st, Chateau Thierry and Vaux fell, and the German troops moved into the Belleau Wood. U.S. 2nd Infantry Division, which included a brigade of U.S. Marines, was brought along the Paris-Metz Highway. The 9th Infantry Regiment was placed between the highway and the Marne River, while the 6th Marine Regiment was deployed to their left. The 5th Marine and 23rd Infantry Regiments were placed in reserves. On the evening of June 1st, German forces punched a hole in the French lines to the left of the Marines' position. In response, the U.S. Reserve, consisting of the 23rd Infantry Regiment under Colonel Paul B. Malone, 1st Battalion, 5th Marines under Major Julius S. Terrell, and an element of the Marine 6th Machine Gun Battalion conducted a forced march over 10 kilometers to plug the gap in the line, which they achieved by dawn. And by the 2nd of June, the United States forces held 20 kilometers front line north of the Paris-Metz Highway, running through grain fields and scattered woods. The German commanders ordered an advance on Margny and Lucy through the Belleau Wood as part of the major offensive in which other German troops would cross the Marne River. The commander of the Marine Brigade, Army General James Harbord, countermanded the French order to dig trenches further to the rear, ordered the Marines to hold where they stand with bayonets. The Marines dug shallow fighting positions from which they could shoot from prone. In the afternoon of June 3rd, German infantry attacked the Marine positions through the grain fields with bayonets fixed. The Marines waited until the Germans were within 100 yards before opening fire on them, which mowed down waves of German infantry and forced the survivors to retreat into the woods. Heavy casualties, the Germans dug in along the defensive line from Hill 204 just east of the Vaux to Les Toilettes in the Paris-Metz Highway and northward through Belleau Wood to Torcy. Marine Captain Lloyd W. Williams of the 2nd Battalion, 5th Marines uttered the now famous retort, "Retreat? Hell, we just got here." Williams Battalion Commander Major Frederick Wise later claimed to have said the famous words. June 1st of 1918, Daly's regiment was placed in the gap line left by the French on the 43rd Division with the intent to stop the German advance towards Paris. The Marines drove back and attacked by the German 28th Infantry on June 2nd. June 5th, the German shell landed in an ammunition dump at Lucy-de-Bocage, starting a fire. Daly quickly led a party from his company into the flames to extinguish the blaze, preventing the arsenal from exploding. June 6th, the Marines went on the offensive, but the Germans were entrenched in the forest, separated from the Marines by 400 yards of open wheat field. Facing 1,200 Germans with 200 machine guns, the 73rd Company was pinned down by intense fire. As the Marines took cover at nightfall, Daly walked openly to each of his machine gun positions, rallying, coordinating his men. On June 10th, a German machine gun unit advanced close to Daly's position. Daly immediately charged the weapon, destroying it with 3 grenades, and shot the commanding officer with his .45 caliber pistol and took the remaining 14 soldiers prison. As the battle raged later that day, Daly exposed himself to enemy fire while evacuating the wounded. For his actions from June 5th to 10th, Daly was awarded the Navy Cross, Army Distinguished Service Cross, French Médaille Militaire, and Daly later fought in the Battle of Saint-Mihiel and the Battle of Blanc-Mont Ridge. His final campaign was the Meuse-Argonne Offensive. By the war's end, he had suffered a bullet wound in the shoulder and 2 shrapnel wounds in the leg. After serving the American occupation force in Germany, Daly left active duty in the United States Marine Corps Reserves in 1919 and officially retired on February 6th of 1929 at the rank of Sergeant Major. Daly forever will be known for standing up and yelling to his men, "Come on, you sons of bitches, do you want to live forever?" which will be idolized throughout media, Hollywood, and history. Daly had remained the rest of his life in New York City, working on Wall Street as a private security. On April 27th of 1937, Daly had died from a heart attack. He was buried at his family's estate.